What's happening, everyone, and welcome to the More Life Frequency podcast. If you're looking to infuse your events with an epic party vibe or get started in the entertainment industry, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Isaac, and after a decade of rocking dance floors from Australia to Greece, I'm here to share the strategies and stories from my journey in the entertainment business. Today, we're diving into the nitty-gritty of event prep. Whether it's your engagement party, a birthday, or another milestone event, it's your big day. These steps will save you headaches and ensure your celebration goes off without a hitch. So let's get it started. You are now tuned in to the More Life Frequency. Welcome, everyone, to the second episode of the More Life Frequency podcast, and thank you so much for joining me. In this episode, we'll be focusing on a few key aspects of event planning, and they are, firstly, nailing your venue and tech setup. Then I'm going to demystify booking policies and cancellations that, let's be honest, nobody likes to talk about. And lastly, some party etiquette essentials just to make sure everything runs smoothly for everybody. So let's jump right into the first point, which is setting the stage. And let's talk about venue and tech. So I'm going to start off with a little personal story of mine here from way back in the day when the dinosaurs roamed the earth. And I was prepping for my 21st birthday. Now, I just got into DJing, so my dream was to have a 21st with an epic DJ setup. Imagine like those prime Avicii days. So that was like my inspiration for my 21st birthday party. I'm talking sound, lighting, the whole shebang. That was my absolute wish for my 21st, and to create something that I would remember basically for the rest of my life and would be an absolute highlight. But the problem was which venue to actually hold my party at. Some venues were too small, others were too expensive. Some even required me to employ 2 or more security guards for an event that had no more than 50 people, and their hourly rate was just way above what I could afford as a 20-year-old. So after a lot of, visiting venues and all that type of thing, I finally found the right one. It had a stage, it had room for sound and lighting. It was away from residents, which was great because we could really turn the volume up when the party got started. And I found that really awesome. And at the end of the day, we had a super great party. And I must admit, I was really lucky since I had just started in the DJ business. I had a contact of mine who offered to give me all the lighting and the sound for the party, and he would set that up. His background was sound and lighting for small concerts and small acts, basically. So it was just absolutely epic to have that whole setup. But basically what I'm going to do now is take that story and apply it to, okay, how can you take the lessons I learned from that event and from all my other past experiences into how to plan for your upcoming big event. So communication with the venue, I find, is the number one most important thing. Pre-planning, you even booking a DJ or entertainer. So similar to me, if you have big plans for staging and lighting, chat with your venue early, or even, take it into consideration when you're going to look at venues. Maybe you don't want that. You don't want staging and lighting. That's not something that's in a high priority. But if it is, keep it in the back of your mind when you're going to see venues, and physically seeing them and going in is super important, because as soon as you step into a space, the energy that it puts out. Each space has its own energy that speaks to the guests as they walk in. So you really want to create that vibe with the venue. And this is something you can't change at the drop of a hat. Once you secure the venue, that's your venue. other things to just consider is, how far they are from other residents, and do they have DJ tables or setups which are sturdy? Is there enough room for the DJ to like move around and actually perform? Or do you want to go for a more like small, intimate space? It just really depends on what you're after. So I've done a lot of gigs and events where the space was literally my DJ decks. The light was right behind me. If I took a step back, I'd bump it. And these were like boat party events. But because it was an intimate sort of vibe that they were after, that really worked. And it was such a fun party to play at. And all the guests had a great time, jumping around on the boat, dancing and all of that. But if you're looking for a more like engagement party, which is very, family orientated, but you want a vibe and you want your entertainer or DJ to really perform, they're going to need space for that. And they're going to need space for their speakers and their lighting and to move around and groove, basically. Going on to our next point, none of this would be possible without power. A lot of people miss this element when they're considering a venue or when they're considering a setup for their DJ. And I can't tell you how many amounts of times that I've gone to set up at a venue, this is where we want our DJ to play, and the nearest power point is 20, 30 meters away. Yes, there are chords that, I had that can reach that far away, but is that really practical, especially if the PowerPoint ends up not working? So it's very important to test these things out prior to, even picking a venue, or once you've picked a venue, when you decide where you want to set up the DJ, just take that into consideration, because no power, no party. And a lot of times bands require high power in their plugs. So having a PowerPoint which can take all that power is super essential. So talk to your venue about that. Again, clearly communicate with them what you are after and what you plan to achieve. Another example and another point to consider is special effects. So are you planning on having any fog or confetti or lasers? How are they going to be set up? Where are they going to be set up? Does the venue even allow that sort of thing? There are heaps of venues where, fog is not allowed because it might set off the fire alarms. And I've seen it even at some of my nightclub shows. They set off those fog machines, and all of a sudden, hey, the fireys are here, and they've got to pay $400 just for the fireys to arrive when it was just a fog machine. And you don't want any of that trouble when you've got your big day and your big event. In my next point, I want to introduce to you some industry terminology, and this is the tech rider or technical rider. It's just basically a term that DJs use, which means what equipment they are actually going to use. So when you do book your DJ, don't be afraid to ask for their tech rider or what equipment they use. You can then communicate this with the venue, and they can speak to the DJ about certain things, or just realistically, you can make sure like you're getting what you pay for. So this all basically ensures that everyone is on the same page about the gear requirements and prevents logistical nightmares, which, trust me, you don't want to happen when you're throwing your event. And now, speaking of logistics, let's talk about my next point, which is getting the equipment to the venue. Entertainers need time to set up and to sound check their equipment so that as the guest walks in, everything's ready to go. The sound works properly and everything is working great. So even just as an event planner, you thinking ahead in that way is going to make your event run all that much smoother. So do confirm load in and setup times with the venue and communicate that to your DJ or entertainer. Now, DJs, I would say from all my gigs, as a rule of thumb, I allow at least 2 hours of setup and sound check time before the event. That is, 2 hours is like a It's a nice to have. I have had events that I've just had 1 hour and it's super rushed and it's super stressful. Bands will require even more time than that because they have, a whole rig. They might have drums, guitars, mixers, and all that sort of thing. So do keep that in mind. Now, some things to think about in regards to the venue is, okay, are there designated loading dock areas? Again, communicating that. Are there any restrictions on vehicle access? For example, there's might be no parking. I did a gig recently and there was no dedicated parking. It was all public space parking. It was all paid parking. So communicating that with your entertainer will make sure as they arrive, they're aware of this and they plan ahead and they plan to account that into their setup time. Another big point is, and this wastes so much time when a DJ or entertainer is setting up, and that is if there's stairs or elevators involved. Now, the more stairs and the more trips to the car you got to make, the longer it's going to take. I once took a CDJ setup, which is basically a nightclub setup for DJs, to a venue which had 3 flights of stairs, and I did this gig solo, and it took me half an hour just to carry up all the gear up those steps. They didn't have an elevator, and even if some venues do have an elevator, it mightn't even work. So it's just things to consider that increases the setup time. So just be super clear. It prevents delays, and it ensures that the setup and even the teardown will be done quickly and efficiently. And here's a pro tip for you. Request a venue walkthrough before the event. Maybe even have a checklist on you and make sure that all these things are accounted for to prevent any surprises. Making sure, okay, the lifts work, that's sweet. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so surprising, the little things that might go wrong and could go wrong, how much they could delay and impact the event itself, even though you've ticked off so many other boxes that you've prepared for. Now, everybody throws different sorts of events, right? Some are indoor, some are outdoor. I'm going to cover in my next point if you're thinking of having an outdoor event. So, Mother Nature is an absolute party crasher. And it's so unpredictable. Especially here in Sydney, we get things called southerlies. And that just basically means that the whole day can be nice, hot, sunny, no wind. And all of a sudden, the next minute in the evening, it goes from hot and sunny to cold, windy, and rainy. And when you have an event planned and it's outside or semi-outside, this could be detrimental. All the preparation that you've done, and it comes down to the rain and wind sort of coming down. So here are some practical tips that can prepare you for this sort of thing happening. Firstly, cover the setup for the DJ. So make sure the DJ is performing under cover. Even rain, hail, or shine, just make sure it's under cover. It provides you with a sort of insurance against the weather turning bad. Protecting the DJ gear from direct sunlight is a massive one as well. I know my DJ gear, if it's exposed to the sun too much, it tends to overheat, especially if they're not the club standard CDJs, if they're Pioneer, controllers and things like that. They might not have such a high tolerance to high temperatures and direct sunlight. So a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of exposure to direct sunlight can damage DJ gear and the performance of them as well. I've had gigs where I've actually had to set up in the morning to play in the evening, and all the gear was, exposed to sunlight. Luckily, I had some covers and everything for it, but some people just don't think of what the effect that would be on the actual gear. That needs to work to make their event, unforgettable, and to make their event a vibe. And another thing would be wind protection as well. So, man, don't put up a tarp and count that as cover for a DJ, because that can just blow over and everything then becomes a mess. Everything's flying around. Then the rain is coming in, and the DJ might have to relocate, which I have done in my time as well. And it's not fun for anyone. The music, has to stop, and it's just not a good time. Something that you want to avoid. Now, I'm going to move on to my next point, which is MC coordination. And I'm not so much talking about your wedding MC or the typical image of a event MC. I'm more talking about those MCs that speak over DJs to hype the crowd up. I don't know, some people like also having these sort of MCs as well as reception MCs, but a lot of DJs actually don't like performing with an MC while they're playing because it messes with the style that they use to perform. Do you know what I mean? It hinders what the DJ experience is going to be for some acts. Some acts incorporate it, which is awesome. I know that I don't, and I know that whenever I've played as a duo that we don't either. But again, communicating with the DJ, if that is something you want, just chat to your DJ and run it by him. I don't find that many people think about this point and consider it enough, because the last thing that you want is the DJ and the MC not to vibe together when they're performing. So you really want it to be the best experience possible. So yeah, communicate. Now onto the not so fun but necessary stuff, which is booking policies and cancellations. This can save you a lot of time and also money, and it's great to be aware of. So my point number one is the cancellation policy. So it's just understanding your DJ or entertainer's cancellation policy inside and out. Pay close attention to deposit terms and potential fees. Life happens, but clear communication is just key for this, especially if you need to cancel or postpone. So chat with your DJ prior to, even booking them. Like, be aware of these sort of things and their cancellation policy. That brings me to point number 2, which is the first step of booking an entertainer or a DJ, which is a deposit. So that's used to secure your booking with the DJ or the entertainer, and that's your commitment to the date, to the time, to the venue. Understand the deposit amount and or the payment schedule. And just so you know and that you're aware, non-refundable deposits are the standard practice in the industry. So it's not your DJ trying to rip you off. Once a date is secured for them, they're most likely going to be saying no to lots of other events or shows because that date is locked in for you. So my point number 3 is travel costs. So if your DJ is traveling to play at your event, just clarify who covers the accommodation, flights, and transport. Is it covered in their booking fee, or is it something that you've got to pay for on top? So always great to know. And again, communication. Now on to my next point, which is the payment schedule. So don't be afraid to clarify the payment schedule up front. When's the final payment due? That should all be included on the invoice itself. Are there any penalties for late payments? What payment methods are accepted? Clear payment terms just prevents misunderstandings, and it ensures everyone gets paid on time and that everyone's on the same page. So happy days. Now let's say it's the day of the party party's going on and it's absolutely pumping, like amazing. This is what you've worked so hard to plan for. DJ or entertainer's doing a great job, but there is the discussion to be had of, okay, you want the DJ to play some overtime now. So what's the hourly rate? Is there an hourly rate? And what's the maximum amount of time the DJ can play for before they've got to go? Because got to remember, sometimes, especially with day events, these DJs or entertainers might have gigs booked in the evening as well. So just respecting those commitments that the entertainer might have would go a long way and save a lot of heartache as well. Okay, so we've covered booking policies. Let's move on to party etiquette. So, client responsibilities, and this is all just about creating a safe and respectful environment for everyone, for the entertainers and for your guests as well. So, throughout the years, I've seen some stuff happen on some dance floors, and here are some of my tips to ensure that everything goes smoothly for you and nothing unexpected comes up. So, even myself as a DJ, I love the energy that people give me when, I play the right song or where I'm in a groove and a certain set and everyone's, going mental and everyone gets a bit excited, but they get too close to the DJ decks. They often have drinks in their hands, and in the back of my mind, I'm always like, don't spill it. Don't spill it on the decks or don't spill it on the speakers. Like, if that happens, the DJ equipment is just going to cut off and it's not going to be fun for anybody. So just having things in mind, even the way the venue is set up, just to prevent people from coming super close to the DJ decks, putting drinks and food on that table as well, it goes a long way. And it's just a bit of a safety precaution. People can still have a great time and they can still have access to the DJ to come up and request the songs that they may want for the time. But it's just respecting that space where the equipment is, even just for safety measures. So another point which pretty much goes without saying is cleanliness. Keeping the party space clean and hygienic is, it contributes to everyone's enjoyment. And it also contributes to the aesthetic of the party that you wish to have. Nobody wants to walk in to an event and you've got the garbage sitting there on the side from the previous event there in a bag. So we'll clear that up. Anything that's not needed in the room to be cleared out of the room, and just to create that epic party vibe. Now, just before you go, I've got a bonus tip for you. I thank you for listening all the way right to the end. And the bonus tip is think about insurance. Safety first. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, inquire about your DJs or entertainers' insurance coverage. Now, professional DJs should have public liability insurance to protect themselves in case of accidents. So just ask if your DJ has that. And as the age-old saying goes, safety never sleeps. So there you have it, your event prep blueprint. All for you. We've covered nailing your venue and tech setup. You're now more aware of booking policies and party etiquette essentials to make sure everything runs smoothly for everybody. By considering these details, I'm sure you'll minimize stress and maximize them good vibes. If you got value from this episode, please follow the podcast to help us bring you more event planning gold. Be sure to share this episode with someone planning a party and check out our website, morlyfe.com.au, for more resources and DJ bookings. I'm Isaac, and thanks for tuning into the More Life frequency. Until next time, all the best and stuff the rest.